aiming to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. Tonight's top stories: clashes, floods, fever and fighting, fake news. Peace talk shaken by deadly clashes. Just days after vowing to resume dialogue, Philippine troops and communist rebels have collided in a deadly clash, raising concerns about the fragile peace process. Heavy downpours have sparked a flood emergency in Thailand's southern provinces, forcing evacuations and disrupting travel for tens of thousands. Mosquito-borne dengue fever is making a worrying comeback, surging globally and posing a significant threat to public health, the World Health Organization warns. In a world besieged by misinformation, Agence France-Presse is at the forefront of the fight, hosting a journalism lecture series at the New Era University to equip journalists with new tools to combat the spread of fake news. In a worrying development, a deadly clash has erupted between Philippine troops and communist rebels just days after both sides expressed their commitment to resuming peace talks. 9 rebels were killed in the firefights that broke out yesterday near the southern city of Malaybalay, Bukidnon, and this comes despite a 2-day holiday ceasefire declared by the Communist New People's Army to mark the anniversary of their uprising. Details remain scarce, but the military confirmed the clashes without elaborating on the circumstances. This incident casts a shadow over the recent announcement by President Marcos's government and the rebels to reignite peace talks after decades of conflict.
We are privileged to report that the government of the Republic of the Philippines and the National Democratic Front of the Philippines have agreed to a principled and peaceful resolution in ending the armed conflict.
The communist insurgency in the Philippines is one of the world's longest running, claiming thousands of lives over its 55-year history. Despite their diminished numbers compared to their peak of 26,000 in the 1980s, the NPA remains a concern for the government. The Philippine government aims to lift 14 million Filipinos out of poverty by 2028, slashing the poverty rate to a single digit. And that is according to Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Arsenio Balisacan. The good news, the first half of 2023 saw a decline in poverty, with 25.24 million Filipinos living in poverty, down from 26.14 million in 2021.
Across the country, poverty incidence decreased in 15 out of the 17 regions from 2021 to 2023. Declining significantly in NCR, CAR, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Sorsogon, and Caraga. While poverty incidence decreased in BARM, it remains the highest in the country. On the other hand, the Davao region experienced a significant increase in poverty incidence due to the region's vulnerability to natural hazards such as flooding and earthquakes.
Balisacan is optimistic the second half of 2023 will further reduce poverty numbers. He cites factors like decreasing inflation, a strong labor market, and easing global uncertainty.
I think I'm quite optimistic about the second half. Number one, inflation has come down. And you know, inflation is very purchases, expenditures are very sensitive to inflation. Number two, the labor market conditions, as we have seen, are quite robust, no? With unemployment and underemployment continuing to decrease. No? Number three is I think that while there is still instability around, I think that the kind of uncertainty that we see now is not as bad as the beginning of the year, and I think that while many of our global the major economic major economies are still on a tight policy mode. I think that many of them are now revisiting there and seeing a better future ahead.
There's also progress on income inequality. The Gini coefficient, a measure of inequality, improved, and the income gap between the richest and poorest Filipinos narrowed.
Yung Gini coefficient natin ng 2021 first semester, ito ay nasa 0.4368 at preliminary itong first semester ng 2023 ay nasa 0.4185. So substantial din yung pagbaba niya.
Relevant ratios mentioned by NSMAPA indicate that is showing to us that growth is indeed becoming inclusive. That's how you can look at the inclusivity of growth when the lower income groups, particularly the poor, are participating even more to the growth process. But as you can see in the faster growth of their incomes relative to the upper income groups.
Balisacan assured there's preparedness for potential problems from El Nino.
I think even as El Nino is a threat, but again, based on our past experiences, past episodes of El Nino, if prepare well for the El Nino, we can minimize the negative effects, and that's why the president has set up this El Nino task force, a whole of government approach to ensure that we address all the dimensions of the issues, the effects of El Nino on health, and food security, and power, and food, and so on, no? And of course, particularly on prices, because if the El Nino will lead to serious shortages, then we could be threatened again by inflation. And so we are watching those the developments there. The good thing was in our briefing the other day in Malacanang, our Pag-asa provided us new information that the earlier forecast that the El Nino would peak when so many provinces would have drought and dry spell in May. It turned out their current data now is showing that peak would occur in April. So it looks like it's going to be a shorter El Nino phenomena, and that should be good for us. Should be good for the economy. But still, we will not loosen our guards.
Heavy rains have triggered a flood emergency in Thailand's southernmost provinces, affecting tens of thousands of people and disrupting travel. The downpours, which began on Friday, have inundated homes and shops in Yala and Narathiwat, forcing at least a dozen schools to close. Footage from the region shows residents taking refuge on higher floors as murky brown waters engulf streets and buildings. The floods have also caused chaos at sea, with at least 7 boats sinking in the Gulf of Thailand and Andaman Sea since the start of the downpours. The Kingdom State Railway Company has been forced to halt train services heading south, with tracks submerged near Yala, roughly 100 kilometers from the Malaysian border. Authorities are warning that further evacuations may be necessary if the floodwaters continue to rise. While the rains have eased, the threat of further flooding remains. Residents in low-lying areas are urged to stay vigilant and follow instructions from local authorities. And listen up, as we head into the holiday season, many are concerned about the rise in respiratory illnesses, including COVID-19. Today, Dr. Maria von Kerkhove, a leading expert on COVID-19 from the World Health Organization, will share her insights and advice.
We're seeing a surge or an increase in respiratory infections for a number of reasons. It's not just COVID-19 that is circulating. We have influenza, we have other viruses, we have other bacteria. And in some parts of the world, we're entering the winter months, but in all parts of the world, people are starting to gather for the holiday season. And as people gather, they spend more time indoors, especially if there's poor ventilation. These pathogens that spread efficiently between people and through the air will take advantage. COVID-19 is one of the diseases that is currently on the rise, and this is again due to a number of factors. This virus, SARS-CoV-2, is evolving, it's changing, and it's circulating in all countries. And we know this through reports from countries, either from traditional-based surveillance systems, but also through wastewater systems in some countries. We have these XBB sublineages, and they represent around 68% or so of the sequences that are shared globally. The other grouping are these BA.2.86 sublineages. You've heard about these, but probably most notably JN.1, which causes the full spectrum of disease, everything from asymptomatic infection all the way to severe disease and death, similar to what we've seen with other Omicron sublineages. What is really important is that we are able to track this, and so we are asking our member states to continue with strong surveillance, good sequencing, and sharing of those sequences in a timely manner so we can assess the circulation around the world and take some steps to potentially modify what we are advising to the world. The advice that we give to all people around the world is similar to what we have in the past. Protect yourself from infection using a number of different tools, but also make sure that if you get infected, that you seek clinical care and you get vaccinated when it's your turn to prevent severe disease and death. All approved COVID-19 vaccines continue to provide protection against severe disease and death, and this includes against all of the circulating variants, including JN.1.
A mosquito-borne virus is making a worrying comeback. The World Health Organization is warning that dengue fever cases have surged globally in recent years, posing a significant threat to public health.
WHO has assessed the risk of dengue as high globally, which what it means is that it requires the maximal attention and response from all levels of the organization to support countries around the world, controlling the current dengue outbreaks, and also preparing for the countries to respond to the upcoming dengue season. The main drivers of dengue transmission are mostly social and environmental factors. So unplanned urbanization, population growth, and other factors that are related with the globalization process are part of the transmission dynamics of dengue. Climate change has an impact in dengue transmission because it increases rainfall, humidity, and temperature. So these mosquitoes are very sensitive to temperature. Mosquitoes can thrive in more countries because of increasing temperatures due to climate change. Many more countries are reporting cases. About 4 billion people are at risk of becoming infected with dengue virus, but most of the people won't get any symptoms. But for those who do, they will recover within 1 to 2 weeks. Since the beginning of this year, over 5 million cases and about 5,000 deaths of dengue have been reported worldwide. And close to 80% of those cases have been reported in the Americas, followed by Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific. The distribution of the mosquitoes that transmit dengue and other mosquito-borne viruses have changed in the last few years due to several social and environmental factors. It is also concerning that dengue outbreaks are occurring in fragile and conflict-affected countries in the Eastern Mediterranean region, such as Afghanistan, Pakistan, Sudan, Somalia, Yemen.
Cases are not only more frequent, but also occurring simultaneously in larger areas, even reaching places previously unaffected by dengue.
Usually, Europe reports imported cases from the Americas, from the Western Pacific, from the endemic regions. But this year, we saw limited clusters of autochthonous transmission. As we know, the summers are getting warmer, and there are two main vectors of this virus. One is Aedes albopictus, which is widely distributed in Europe and is called the tiger mosquito.
This perfect storm of factors, shifting mosquito habitats, unusual weather patterns like El Nino, and the ongoing stress of the pandemic of healthcare systems has the WHO sounding the alarm. Dengue fever can cause debilitating symptoms, including fever, muscle aches, and a rash. In severe cases, it can lead to shock and even death. In a world plagued by misinformation and disinformation, journalists need new tools to combat the spread of inaccurate information. Agence France Presse gave a journalism lecture series at the New Era University. Journalist Sophia Kwan Shu introduced New Era University students to AFP's innovative digital investigation training platform, offering valuable skills for verifying online information and debunking false claims. AFP's global reach and expertise. Shu began by highlighting AFP's global footprint.
And as for AFP's digital investigation team, our network started in 2017 with just one fact checker in our Paris HQ. And this was in response to misinformation that we were seeing around the French election. And this network has grown very quickly in the past few years. So now we're the largest fact-checking network or agency in the world, and we cover more than 80 countries in more than 26 languages, and we have more than 140 members of staff.
Recognizing the prevalence of misinformation in the Philippines, Shu shared examples of AFP's fact-checking work on topics like health issues, climate change, and breaking news events.
And here we have a module dedicated about climate claims. So how, what is greenwashing? How do you, access climate reports? What are the trustworthy sources you can use for debunking climate claims? And this course will give you more information and equip you with all the resources you need for verifying climate-related claims.
She emphasized that debunking false claims is not enough. Digital investigation training empowers journalists to verify information effectively and combat misinformation at its source.
And here, as I mentioned, we just launched these two courses about tackling disinformation during elections. So next year we have over, I think, billions of people going to vote. And there are major elections. So we prepared this course to help journalists and journalism students to know how to monitor maybe election campaigns and false claims circulating before, during, and after an election. Here we have a breaking news course, very popular one for all journalists covering breaking news online and in the real life. This will help you to know, what are the steps that when you're covering breaking news but can't be at the scene immediately, how can you find user-generated content on social media? How can you verify them? And how can you reach out to the sources to maybe obtain rights for your news agency to publish that content?
Multiple levels from beginner to advanced, the platform caters to journalists with varying levels of experience, free and accessible. Anyone with an internet connection can access the platform and learn valuable skills for combating misinformation. Following Sophia Shu's presentation on AFP's digital investigation training platform, Lucille Sodipe, a digital verification reporter for AFP, took to the stage to engage students on online participants in a fun and interactive exercise. Sodipe presented a scenario from 2020 during the pandemic where reports emerged about Chinese vessels dumping human waste in disputed areas of the South China Sea.
Chinese vessel dumping waste over the West Philippine Sea. So let's do a reverse image search. I will need your phones for this one.
These reports were based on satellite images from a company called Similarity. However, the image used in a social media news graphic and subsequent posts raised questions about its authenticity. Sodipe guided the audience through the reverse image search process, highlighting the importance of non-stopping at the first result.
Okay, and then you can upload the photo and do a reverse image. Using an iPhone,
Participants were tasked with finding the date the photo was taken, the ship's location, and the photographer's source.
I need to know when that photo was taken. No need to give the month or the day. Or if you can find it, why not? When the photo was taken, where was the ship located, and who is the source of the image? If you can give me the name of the photographer, better.
Through the collaborative investigation, the audience discovered that the photo was not taken in the South China Sea.
Tell me where the ship is located. Si ma'am na naka-glasses.
The ship is located in northeastern Australia.
Northeastern Australia.
It's located at the Great Barrier Reef.
There you
in Australia.
go. Did anybody else get that answer?
It depicted dredging activities, not human waste dumping.
So, ang sabi dun sa photo, ang description, it's a maintenance dredging that shows the impact. Basically, what the photo was trying to show, what environmentalist group was trying to show, is the impact of dredging and dumping in the Great Barrier Reef. It's a World Heritage Area, right? So what we're seeing is not actually human waste, it's lupa, di ba?
The exercise underscored the importance of digital verification in today's information landscape. She emphasized that relying solely on social media posts or news reports without verifying their content can lead to the spread of misinformation.
And then we asked for a copy, a high-resolution copy of the original photo. So they gave that to us, and now we can compare that it's not true what the post was saying, right? Right. Congratulations, ang gagaling. Palakpakan niyo naman ang inyong mga sarili.
From the bustling streets of Manila to war-torn Kabul and the vibrant carnival of Rio, Alison Jackson, AFP's bureau chief for the Philippines, has seen it all. Here, she brought her wealth of experience to New Era University, sharing invaluable insights with aspiring journalists on navigating the ever-changing media landscape. Jackson, a seasoned veteran with a passion for storytelling and a fierce commitment to accuracy, emphasized the importance of getting the facts right every time.
I have found, which I consider really important, facts matter. Get them right. Check and double check and triple check. You would be surprised how many times on that third check that you realize that you have spelt, a person's name incorrectly, especially someone who has an unusual spelling. Or that you've got the numbers slightly incorrect, the decimal point in the wrong spot. You've got billion instead of million. Always, always check and recheck.
But beyond facts and figures, Jackson emphasized the power of clear and concise writing.
Writing is hard. So no matter what sort of journalism you end up doing, you are going to end up writing something. Even if you're a photographer, you're going to be writing captions. If you're a videographer, you're going to be writing dope sheets. If you're a text reporter, of course, you're going to be doing a lot of writing. It's hard, and it involves rewriting. And I would highly encourage you to read as much good writing as you can.
Building trust and credibility is crucial, and Jackson emphasized the importance of respecting and protecting sources.
Respect and protect your sources, always. Your reputation will be ruined if you can't do that. No one will talk to you. No one will trust you. And believe me, people will find out. If you misquote somebody, if you deliberately misquote somebody, if you don't protect them, if they've asked you to not use their name for valid reasons, you have to protect them. Obviously, when you're speaking to people, it's really important that they know that they're speaking to a journalist and that things are on the record until they're not. So if somebody says, okay, this part is off the record, you have to respect that.
Alison Jackson also shared some valuable insights on how to make even seemingly dry topics like economics engaging.
For my reporting, and I had to say to them, look, I have never done this before. I've never written about the stock market. When you tell me that, when you start talking about bond yields, you've lost me.
She emphasized AFP's commitment to storytelling that resonates with everyday people, not just financial experts.
I don't have to be like that. So AFP is writing, we're not producing stories for expert audiences, for investment bankers or economists. We're producing stories for regular people.
As an example, Jackson shared the recent story she encountered in the local media about bakeries shrinking the size of their pandesal due to rising ingredient costs.
Story about some bakeries were shrinking the size of their pandesal because it was becoming so expensive. The ingredients were becoming so expensive, but they didn't want to raise their prices because then the bakery down the road would steal their customers. I just thought that was a brilliant story. I thought that was such a nice way of talking about inflation and how it was affecting regular people. And it was a very visual story, what was otherwise a fairly dry topic. And I think people can, a reader or a viewer could see just how, inflation was affecting regular Filipinos.
Inspired by this idea, Jackson's team at AFP didn't just report the news, they went to the source.
I know we live in an age now where we have, multiple, messaging apps and, we can do video conferencing and all sorts of things, but nothing will ever beat talking to someone face to face in the same room or wherever they are. Okay. That's journalism. Okay. That's real interviewing, because that's where you're actually going to really to get to know that person. You're going to make a connection. And is it important? Do I need to actually... Don't use jargon out. If you have to use it, you have to explain it. And I mentioned this before, and I know it might sound quite silly, but it will save you an enormous amount of embarrassment. Always take an extra pen. I've always got about 5 in my bag, and spare batteries. It will save you when your tape recorder goes flat. That's all.
As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.